Hello everyone and welcome back to another Train Sim World 3 patch notes video. This is as of the 12th of October 2022. So, let's see, what have we got? So, we're coming in fast with the second of several post-release updates, bringing fixes to the recently reintroduced save game functionality and a large range of UI improvements, quality of life changes and fixes. So for the save game, we are still collecting all your feedback on save game, and we have made improvements to various save and resume game issues, particularly with AI trains that were happening on different routes. Settings and UI. The update also brings in loads of fixes and new additions to our menus and interfaces. Some key additions based off community requests include liveries on train selection now displaying the original route they come from, and new go via and stop at objective icons, and mouse sensitivity slider will now work as well. The experience for controllers has been made smoother as we have added gamepad button prompts for settings in the pause menu. Fixed issues where moving around the 2D map would now it will now hover you over the search bar and filter buttons in route selection menus when using the ARX button, and also a virtual keyboard will open. And then for gameplay, the Loco add-on bundle, we've heard your prayers and upgraded the RHTT water spray effect to be truer to life. Wagon buffer physics issues have been resolved, and weathering effects will now appear on the windows, including on the windows of the Class 66. Additionally, the BR182 Disbollock will now correctly substitute on DB Cargo Deutschland, and it's not just the menus that are easier to navigate. The LZB introduction tutorial will be easier to complete as the Loco can move again after stopping, as we've reduced the F7 training point requirements for silver and gold medals. And then the full channel logs the save game, general improvements, UI, mouse sensitivity slider will now function as intended, added new icons for go via and stop at objectives, re-added back button to pause menu, changing measurement units to imperial will now impact all HUD settings, crosshair size settings will now be saved after exiting and reloading the game, level 5 or higher profiles will be recommended experienced option on profile import. Resume last played button will now display as suitable image on the home screen for various routes. And then the UI for the selection menus. When selecting a service, duration times for other services will no longer disappear. You can now see how many services you can play when viewing trains. Trains section should show trains from services rides. Completing a scenario or tutorial will mark it as complete in journey mode. That's good, that's very good. Scenarios and tutorials for uninstalled content will no longer show. When in the route selection menu, hovering over a route thumbnail will correctly show the route details. Selecting a livery on the train selector will now show which route that livery comes from, and the livery editor will default to dark mode, the one true prevailing mode. And then even more UI, this is to do with the text. Text will no longer scroll out of the boundary when starting a route. Exit game button will no longer flicker. Decrease task padding around text on task list rows. And then UI for console. Added gamepad button prompts for settings in the pause menu. Navigation around the 2D map is now corrected on controllers. When using a controller, you can now hover over the search bar and filter buttons in route selection menus. A virtual keyboard will open when pressing ARX. On PS4, the RB button can now be used in the pause menu to get to the settings menu. And also on PS4, you will no longer be prompted to save changes when nothing is altered when exiting settings. And in gameplay, driver's hair will no longer stick outside of the hat. Southeastern high speed, increased station stop times on high speed run scenario to give correct sense of operating a late service. Fixed AI spawning issue on the 0935 London to Ashford service. And then for the railhead treatment train, water spray effect has been improved to be truer to life. Weather effects will now appear on the windows. Fixed issue with wagon buffer physics. And then for the shed, the 66, gameplay on Rail Driver can release vigilance pedal when driving EWS. Weather effects will now appear on the windows. The EM2000 emissive text will now be clearly visible. And then for the training centre class 66, Fixes to a coupler animation. Cab lights will now give the first time use award. Removed semicircular artifacts underneath wagons, and the AWS Sunflower will now work correctly. And for Castle Versberg, trains should move again after stopping in the LZB introduction tutorial. NPC should not clip into each other while sitting on the chairs. Billboard will now display on both sides. Player can no longer walk through the fence at Fielder Yard. Fixed lighting on cars around Castle Station. Removed branch from the track between platforms 7 and 8 at Fielder Station. And NPCs will no longer appear wet on sunny days. And for the Disbollock 182 will now correctly substitute on DB Gargo Deutschland. The DB Layers wagons remove semicircular artifacts underneath wagons. For the DB SGG MRSS, no idea how you pronounce that, remove semicircular artifacts underneath wagons. And for the Habins, changes to physics. And then for Cajon Pass, the 2D minimap will now correctly display the start and end point markers. Advertisements should now correctly display on the double-sided billboards. Time displayed to complete F7 training and switching up scenarios are now accurate to actual gameplay. F7 training now includes manually using the coupling bar. F7 training requirements for silver and gold medals have been reduced. And then we got one for West Cornwall Local. It can now be completed, the intro. And then for the DBBR 101, changes to physics for the 101 and coaches. But that is today's patch notes video. So a fair amount of good changes there. And yeah, hopefully soon enough we will find out what the upcoming DLCs are. Maybe, fingers crossed. But that is going to be everyone for today's patch notes video. Hopefully everyone has enjoyed it. Links can be found in the description to the Discord, to the PayPal, and to the merch store if you do want to help support the channel. Apart from that, thanks all for coming in, and I hopefully will see you next time. See you all. Take care. Bye, guys.